The topic 2.3, which is human factors design guidelines for multifunction displays. As we all know, what is multifunction displays itself, where the short form is MFD. Alright, the multifunction display itself is a display surface which, through hardware or software, the controlling means is capable of displaying information from multiple sources and potentially in several different reference frames. Alright. Okay. For example, is the cockpit display. There's a lot of multifunction display that shows for the pilot to use it to gain a lot of information, right? The device may be capable of either displaying different groups of data, for example, weather, traffic, or terrain at one time or in a combined fashion. The data may be combined within a single common reference frame or within separate reference frames. And this multifunction display are capable of presenting data from a runner or of independent sources, including cockpit display of traffic information system, enhanced navigational information system supporting moving maps with the information sources, traffic alert collision avoidance system TCAS, terrain avoidance warning system TAWS. Alright, this is an example of the MFD can capable to presenting a data. Right, in the human factors issue, it was arise when avionics subsystem evolved independently without consistency in the design of the user interface and are brought together in the cockpit itself. Alright, so this human factor issue will arise when all of these problems are come out. A typical glass cockpit configuration that includes is up to 6 electronic display unit, alright, a backup flight instrument, that liquid crystal display or electromechanical instrument, and also a few critical system indicators on the main instrument panel. And in flight instrument display, glass cockpit technology also can be applied to the presentation of system information. Alright, so this instrument display are useful for the presentation of system information. How you nak deliver the system information of the whole airplane during the flight. Right. Aircraft system control located at the overhead system panel. Okay. A mode control panel, kat mana dia locate? It's also called a flight control unit, located at centrally on the glass shield below the windscreen. Right. Other flight management system control units and communication control are located at the pedestal between the pilots, together with the power and configuration control. It means that all the control system panel is located at the in front of the nearest to the pilot itself. Okay. For another use of MFD technology, multifunction display technology, is for the flight management system itself, FMS. This interface with the navigation system and is intended to reduce workload, compile complicated lateral and vertical profiles, and supply data for the electronic flight guidance system. Alright, the purpose that this FMS interface actually to reduce the workload, right, to compile the complicated data lateral and vertical profile and supply data for the electronic flight guidance system. In general, this system optimizes operating efficiency with a primary aim of reducing fuel costs. Guidelines and design guidelines. Alright, numerous guidelines and standard relating to the basic design of a number of unifunction displays needed for the design operation and evaluation of the multifunction display in cockpit, especially to promote safety and principles to promote safety and enhance flight crew performance, right? Design guideline is a set of recommendation on how to apply design principle to provide a positive user experience, right? So this design guideline is useful for the user to apply the design principle before they start doing their design concept. The designer use such guidelines to judge how to adopt principle, institutiveness, learnability, efficiency, and consistency, so that they can create compelling designs and meet and exceed users' need. The purpose of the guideline, one, you need to display the display guideline. That is simply a tool that might be used in particular stage of the design process. So this type of guidelines are purposely general to allow the designer to develop his or her own designs rule from these vague recommendations. Third, the design rule should be the joint responsibility of system analysts assessing design requirement, software designers assessing feasibility, their managers, and potential end users. Alright. How they report the organization guidelines. Okay, first section, the general guideline. Right? The general guideline is used to describe general design objectives, right? Guidelines and recommendations. And from these general guidelines, deletion, exception, modification, and expansion will take place to create more specific guidelines. Right? For the second section, it's supposedly describe the design process recommended for the designers of any display to arrive at their own guidelines or answers for the specific display. Alright, so the pre-existing guidelines are used during various steps of this recommended process. Alright, for the first section, it's a general guideline. Okay, supposedly you have a objective, guidelines, and recommendation. Alright, and from here there will have a deletion, exception, modification, and expansion that take place from the specific general guidelines. Right, so the second section, supposedly the recommended the design process recommended for the designer, supposedly will be used for the next step of the recommended process. For the third section, right, the third section, it's supposed to discuss many of the display design issue and research and results associated with them. Okay, supposedly at this third section, alright, you may discuss the design issue, the upcoming issue. Usually when we do something, when we discuss, after that it will come out an issue. Alright, when you are brainstorm any idea and you collect all the information, and there will come out with an issue, and supposedly this is reported at the third section on the organization guidelines. Alright, for the fourth section, it provides sample of existing standards and guidelines for human factor issue in display design from DoD, FAA, NRC, SAE, and other sources. Okay, human factor in these abilities, as we can see, it's just not applying checklists and guidelines. To be sure, human factor people develop and use checklists and guidelines. However, such acts are only part of the work of human factor. There is not a checklist or guideline in existing today that, if it were applied blindly, will ensure a good human factors product. Traits of consideration of specific application and educated opinions are things that cannot be captured by a checklist or guideline, but are all important in designing for human use. Maknanya sometimes kadang in our human factor in life, sometimes these guideline and checklists are important, but basically it is depending on the designing that human use, based on the design guideline itself. Alright, Topic 2.4, which is a type of displays and guidance in color coding in display. This is presenting by group number 4, and the notes content in group number 4 presenting are quite interesting and correct, right? So basically the notes is from this group, and as you all see, this topic cover how the color coding are used in display. Alright, for hazard or anything else in our life, there was a color coding. Okay, how is the guidance that we will use to configure this color coding? So whenever color is used on a display, it should be used redundantly with another means of coding information. Right? This means that there should be some indication other than color about the information that color is to convey. This means that there should be some indication. Right? Okay. Maps concept are similar with color coding in display. Chemical need to store according to hazard class in all chemical storage area. This color is very important of communicating hazards to worker. Alright, so sometimes worker just use and notice that, oh, that color is for this hazard, that color is for this hazard. Alright, the only reliable way to assure quality of color design to ensure that human factor engineering is properly integrated into the design. Alright, so this color guideline provide the human factor professionals with checklist on the important usability concern related to color.